Good day, everybody. Okay, let's fix that. Like usual, I'm going to wait a few moments before we get started. All right, 3. How's everybody doing? So I found out that people be listening, but they don't be commenting. And I'm not entirely sure why for all of them, but some have said that they don't want their name to be shown. So I try to tell them how to change their name, but I don't know if I got through to them. This one here. Oh, let me reset my timer. So stopwatch. Let's do that. Close that. No, I don't think it was him. I don't expect him to be one who would have issues with that. Yeah, I don't expect Don to have any type of issues, or he would probably just order one of his women to figure that out for him. So no, it most certainly wasn't him. I still don't know where he's from. I know it's been asked a few times. Middle East or something like that. Oh, Stallings. All right, you're on here. I was kind of hoping that you weren't going to be. I don't know if you're gonna. One of the questions I'm pondering. You know it when it comes up. One of the questions I'm pondering may or may not uh, be about you. No, it won't be about you, but it's one of those things where like if you're in church and a preacher is preaching and he or she is saying something and you think it's about you, like how do he know, how does she know? I think it may be one of those cases. I am going to wait probably another 2 to 3 minutes. So you can't hear, or I did mute it for a second, but I don't think I was talking when it was muted. What? One more minute. Oh, wait, one more one. How's everybody doing out there? Can anybody hear me? Am I being heard? I bought these microphones, and I think I'm gonna start using it next time. Stupid thing. Just you can invite whoever you would like to invite. So if she's anything like my mom, she won't be turned off or disgusted by it. So do at your own risk. Do at your own risk. Think you know your mom better than any of us. How do you think she would respond? All right, I think we have waited enough. Yeah. Yeah, so we waited long enough, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to say good day to everyone out there watching. This is Dr. O, and you're watching the latest episode of In the Know with Dr. O. For those of you participating, I do thank you for spending some time with us this evening. A special thanks to those who consistently or constantly participating. Thank you to all of those who watch during the live session. Make sure you hit that subscription button and notification bell if you haven't already. Today we're going to conclude the 3-part series about sex and relationships, men from a man and woman's perspective. So we're going to look at it from how a man or men see things and how women see things. in a relationship. Before we get on to this last episode of today's episode, I'm gonna do a quick recap if you all don't mind. Oh, hello, Don, and welcome. So, again, this is the third part of the series, Sex and Relationships from a Man and Woman's Perspective. A quick recap. And in the first episode, we discussed sex and relationships from a few different standpoints. For those of you who were already on here or watching, you recall, we discussed it from a sexual standpoint. We said that men is physical, right? And we can compartmentalize sex. We can make it simply about sex, day in and day out, weekly, monthly, for years even. We said it's more relational for women. Women tend to have a holistic approach where they want to connect with the person that they're with. So we talked about it from that standpoint. Women like to go on dates and establishing some type of emotional connection. Yeah, an emotional connection. We also talked about it from a sexual response a standpoint. Men are quick. We're quick to get excited. We can be at attention in fractions of a second, right? And men, we talked about how men are acyclical, which means anytime, anywhere, we're always ready. Anytime, anywhere, except for maybe if you have some type of, I don't know, some type of condition or let's say a premature ejaculator or something like that. We talked about how women are cyclical, meaning at times they may be interested in sex, and at other times less interested in sex. And then we also looked at it from an orgasm standpoint, where we said that an orgasm is a propagation of a man's gender, right? While a woman sees it as a propagation of oneness or closeness or togetherness with their partner. I talked about how an orgasm is really two things. Especially when a man's talking about orgasm, they think it's one thing, but it's not. It's two distinct or different physiological actions or events where you have the orgasm part, it's the mental part, the release part, how you feel. Then you have the ejaculation part, but they normally happen simultaneously. So most people think orgasm, it's one thing. No, it's actually two. You can't have an orgasm without ejaculating. So we talked about that, and then we transitioned to a question and answer session. That's what we did after that. And we had a lot of good laughs and found out some things about people that I wouldn't have thought just by looking at them. So then the next session 2 of this 3-part series, this was more of a straight question and answer section, not so much as instructional. I did more instruction or that's the wrong word, probably more teaching in session 1 than I did in section 2. So we did a quick recap of session 1, and then we went straight into a question and answer session with session 2 or episode 2. And some of those questions I may ask again today, just so you know. Today's episode, now while we're still talking about sex in relation to differences in how men and women view sex, there will be a little bit more focus on the relationship aspect in this final part of this 3-part series, especially early on. I think I'm gonna start with that way. And point of clarification, when I say relationships, I'm talking about a relationship that's not considered like a friend with benefits or a casual relationship. I'm talking more like long-term or something that you review as long-term. And now there may be times where I am talking about any type of relationship, casual, friends with benefits or otherwise, but I'll try my best to specify or let you know through my comment or my question So, and I'm also talking about a dyadic relationship which is two people, not necessarily more than two people. But again, if that comes up, you'll know. So let's get to the relationship aspect first, and we'll eventually transition to more on the sex side or the differences of opinion in sex, and focusing on the relationship aspect first. I want to discuss communication in relationships and the importance of communication in maintaining like a healthy or maintaining satisfaction in your relationship, or relationship satisfaction, you may have heard it called. And we're all likely to know or at least understand the importance of communicating between two people, but it's much more so, much more important, especially in a relationship. Men and women, as we know, in general, we speak differently. And then we also communicate differently. I don't look at one over the other. I don't look at it from a superior or inferior communication style, rather just a difference in how we see things, how we hear things, how we respond to any communicative stimulus. And one such area of note is relationship satisfaction. So I think I want to talk about that first. And what do I mean by relationship satisfaction? I'm going to define it because the literature reflects many different terms that refer to relationship satisfaction. There appears to be, last I checked, there appears to be little agreement in the literature on the use of a single term. So when I say relationship satisfaction, I mean the subjective evaluation of a person's relationship. It's definitely opinionated. So it's more about your ideas and thoughts, which in turn could be different from what your partner believes. Now, one way to look at relationship satisfaction is through intimacy, or through the lens of intimacy. We talked about in past episodes how men and women, how we can view stimuli differently. So I want to talk about intimacy first to get things started in relationships. I want to know what intimacy in a relationship means to you and how important is it in a relationship. So that's the first question. What does intimacy in a relationship means to you, and then how important is it for you? So that's the first question. Hey, Tree, I haven't seen you on here in a minute. So that's the first question. What does intimacy in a relationship mean to you, and how important? How important? No, actually, we're going to make that the second one. So the first one is, what does intimacy in a relationship mean to you? What does intimacy in a relationship mean to you? And while those answers are coming in, I want to give some context to intimacy in relationships, specifically relationship satisfaction. So intimacy really can mean many things to people, and it's generally subjective. Whereas one partner or one person may see things as a positive or an atmosphere that's conducive for creating and sustaining intimacy, the other person may see things in a negative manner. It can be impacted or influenced by many things. It may be impacted by, let's say, a difference in communication style. We talked in a previous episode about that, how men and women, we just see things different. I can ask you to describe an elephant, and a man may focus on manly things, whereas a woman may say something different. But there also can be differences in how one view intimacy, not just how we communicate. For example, a woman may be likelier than men to view intimacy, to view it measured by the ability of a man to share their feelings and trust that their feelings will not be pushed to the side. While men, we may look at it from a how well is what we communicate received. But what does intimacy mean to you? I wanted an open relationship with my girlfriend, but best friend convinced her not to do what I wanted. I was playing to be. Okay. Transparency and vulnerability. That's what intimacy means to you. Okay. What do you mean? I think I know where you're going with that, but I don't want to answer that, go down that road if it's not what I was thinking. Your woman do as you say. It sounds like that's order. That's order, which I greatly appreciate order. But so what does intimacy in a relationship mean to you? What does it mean to you? Okay. What does intimacy in a relationship mean to you? I have wine, and I hope you all don't mind. What does intimacy in a relationship mean to you? I'm gonna wait a moment, and then I'll tell you what it means to me. I'm sorry, Bruno. So what happened with that? What happened with that? I do want to know that story. I mean that when we are vulnerable and transparent with others, that's intimate because you can't get much closer to another. Extremely true and powerful. That closeness, especially from the women's side, who more often will view intimacy as a closeness or just define a relationship. So therefore, relationship satisfaction from a closeness standpoint, a togetherness standpoint. And I haven't met a woman yet who does not like their man to be vulnerable with them. I just haven't. She dumped you. There are others. Don't worry over that. Next time you just got to pick girls who don't have best friends who will talk your girl out of it. So some of that's your fault. Should have did more research. What does intimacy in a relationship means to you? That is the first question. My idea of intimacy, it goes beyond anything sexual or physical. It's being able to share. Yeah, it's being able to share to discuss a wide range of feelings, of thoughts, experiences, beliefs with your partner. I believe the more I experience intimacy in a relationship, the more I feel that other parts are good, such as the sex is good, if I'm able to do those things. And for me, as I think for other men, I'll speak for me. If I'm vulnerable and tell a woman something, and that backfires in some way, then I put up this wall, and it's not a very porous wall. It takes a lot to get through. It's almost like you really only get one chance from me. Hello, Miss Weaver. Hello. So the question is, and for those of you who are just coming on board, make sure you hit that subscription button and notification bell. The first question is, what does intimacy mean to you in a relationship? No, you shouldn't have been dumped by a woman. That's not manly. So I guess, Don, you're saying that men are the one who need to be breaking up. But wait. So wait. So the girl, her best friend, convinced your girlfriend, no, don't do it. And now, did the best friend want you all along? And then if so, have you talked to the best friend about being in a open relationship? Because that's extremely funny. I do want to know more about that. So that's funny. So what does intimacy in a relationship mean to you? Be careful, please, driving, because I laugh at the wrong things. I would hate to laugh when you get in an accident. So please be careful. And then if you're texting and talking, from my understanding, iPhones are the greatest thing since, I don't know, H2O was created. So if you have an iPhone, it shouldn't be an issue. But if you don't, it may come through all messed up. But the first question is, what does intimacy mean to you in a relationship? Mine was, I view intimacy is more than a sexual or physical thing. It's the ability for me to share my feelings, my thoughts, a wide range of feelings and thoughts and beliefs with whoever I'm with. And for me, the more I experience intimacy in a relationship, I describe my relationship in general better. The more I feel that my sex life is good, or this area or that area. That's extremely funny. So she talked to your girlfriend about how about being in a open relationship, but now you're with her. But I still don't know if you're in an open relationship with the best friend. And does your ex know that you are now with her best friend, or are they still friends? That's funny. So what does intimacy in a relationship mean to you? The next question is, how important is intimacy in your relationship? How important? Loyalty, understanding, respect, those are all good. Loyalty, understanding, and respect. And in understanding, that's a communicative aspect to intimacy. And I've had discussions with people who they kind of view intimacy and sex interchangeably, like they're synonyms, and they're not. It's important what it builds. Okay. So, intimacy is anal sex with a special girl. You don't get any more intimate than that, I guess. My ex got in a fight with her best friend because of this. See, I don't know if that's the best friend's fault or the ex-girlfriend's fault, because if she would have just made up her own mind, made her own decision and not worried about the best friend, maybe she wouldn't be in the situation. There wouldn't have to been a fight. And that's good. Right? Extremely important, because intimacy is a lot of things and balled up into one word. No, that's good. I agree. And that's what I was saying earlier, where it's subjective and it can mean many, many things to people. And it's really not a right answer to this question. Intimacy can be a sexual connection and a deep connection. Yeah, so I agree. It can be. Just again, people interchange those words, sex and intimacy, and they're not the same thing. Like, I've had sexual connections with a plethora of people, but then when I leave, our bodies are no longer connected. So there was no there was no intimacy there, or not even a deep connection, except for when I was deep inside. But outside of that, when I left, then that was it. That was it. Intimacy is anal sex with a special girl. That is extremely funny. So those are the first two questions. What does intimacy mean to you in a relationship? And then how important is it? I don't think I've seen, sometimes YouTube is slow and latent, long latency period. But how important is intimacy to you in relationships? How important is it to you? She sent me a message. Intimacy is closeness, period. No, right? I get it. But how important, right? So I'm getting answers telling me what what intimacy is, but how important. So you're saying it's mandatory. It's mandatory on whose side, Enigma? Is it because intimacy can be created from either side or can be created from social factors, put life events pushing you all together, but who it's mandatory from what side? She sent me a message saying that she wants me back, but with one condition: I have to stop seeing her ex-best friend. I can talk to you offline about that, but online, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah, don't do that. Yeah, so don't do that. Intimacy is a connection, and in a relationship, very important. All right, so very important is subjective. The word varies between person to person. Put it on a scale if you don't mind, like one through 10, 10 being high. I can't be intimate with someone I do not love. Sex is sex. Humans do it with, with hookers and animals. Okay, that's a good way, or that's one way of looking at it. That you can't be intimate with someone I do not love. So for you, intimacy is attached to love. Intimacy is mandatory from both sides, assuming that both people want a loving relationship. Okay, a 10 out of 10, really? 11, intimacy is one of the key components in a healthy relationship. Okay, if my marriage was lacking intimacy, I would feel disconnected from my husband. What is the intimacy in your relationship then? Because we've had a few people describe what intimacy is. Well, what is it for you? No, right? Enigma, that's what I was saying. For me, you said it doesn't have to be about sex, intimacy. It's not that for me either. It transcends physical and sex is about being able to be open. Like Bruno was trying to be open with his ex-girlfriend. It's about being open and being able to share my feelings and being able to be vulnerable and being able to feel trusting. And if I say something, I won't be ridiculed or made fun of or judged in a negative light. Because the moment someone like me, or for me, if I'm any of those things and it backfires in any way, then all of that goes away. The chances of me being those things with you again is slim. It's extremely slim. Yeah. It's being attentive to each other's needs. It's feeling safe to be open, honest, and vulnerable. Yes, right. I agree. In a relationship, extremely sex starts in the kitchen with intimacy. There's so many ways to take that, so I need you to break that down for me. Are you talking like being bent over or bending someone over on a counter? or they need to be able to cook, or you're all cooking together. It's intimacy definitely isn't just sexual; it's mental as well. Extremely mental, I think. Weaver, I like how you broke that down. Physical intimacy equals 8. Emotional intimacy equals 9. Spiritual is 9. That word spiritual can have a few different connotations with it. What do you mean by spiritual? For those of you who's just joining, make sure you hit that subscription button and notification bell. We're talking about this is part 3 of the mini series and the final part of sex and relationships, man and woman's perspective. And the first 2 questions I was talking about intimacy in a relationship. What does that mean to you, and how important is intimacy in a relationship? Yes, that's a good word. Evenly yoked, or being on one accord. Evenly yoked. Lack of intimacy equal misunderstanding. And I'm afraid of what your misunderstandings could mean, because I know you, and misunderstanding could mean a reaction with your hand. so, so, so what type of, okay, misunderstanding it with false sense. Got it. Okay. That's extremely funny. All right, so the first question, what does intimacy mean to you in a relationship? How important is it in your relationship? And then the next one is, what are some difficulties you've had or you're currently having in creating intimacy, and how did you or how are you resolving those difficulties? Okay. Great way of cleaning that up, Enigma. I read that earlier. Bad communication, it could be, yes. It could be. So, what difficulties or challenges you've had in creating intimacy, and then how did you or how are you resolving? It's like in my other screen. And there are many reasons why, or many areas that one can focus on as to what's causing the difficulty or difficulties in creating intimacy. Her best friend never showed any intro. Okay, you know. That's how it goes, right? At times, Bruno, they don't want you until you look the part, or you're playing the part, or you're somebody else's. I've heard that many times from many women that and from some men, that they weren't wanted or desired until they got with somebody else. Had trouble opening up to people. I always had a major defense of, the more I let it down, the more I realized there was never anything to protect. It's real, it can't be threatened. It's not real, it doesn't exist. It's kind of philosophical, Enigma. I got somewhat of a story a story that's somewhat similar, except for I won't say there was never anything. There was never anything to protect, because you're always protecting your heart and your mind. And then some of it is a confidence thing, and an esteem thing, and how you feel based on how a person responds to what you say and do. How does that impact you? But it's extremely philosophical there. Keeping the lines open for communication and just focusing on being totally transparent, learning to be there and create an environment of safety and security, but not on what I think. Not on what I think, not based on, but, it's supposed to be but, based on what he needs. Previously speaking, spiritually, I mean, do we have a common spiritual belief? Are we both believers when having to deal with and get through? That's good. Yeah, you do need to be on one accord or equally yoked. And there are many reasons why, right? We can face difficulty in creating intimacy and especially sustaining intimacy. Some we kind of touched on communication. If you don't communicate your needs or your feelings, how how can your feelings be met? They're likely not to be met if you don't communicate them. Bruno wanted an open relationship. It didn't work out, but it wasn't going to work out if either way if he didn't really say anything. It's kind of difficult. So you have to communicate your needs and ask your partner about their needs. And this could be difficult for some. I've talked to couples over the years and some single people who about expressing their thoughts. Something like what's the word? Emotional expressivity, where you must express your emotions or the needs so that you you two are on one accord or equally yoked. You have to express your emotions, your needs, so that they know and that y'all on the same page. I read a study. It was about I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, where the researchers they explored intimacy in relationships, and one of the conclusions was that both men and women who felt like their mate communicated positively, they or had a positive communication style, they had a or reported a greater feeling of intimacy and relationship satisfaction. So positive communication is extremely important and it can lessen conflict. It can definitely lessen conflict, which I am a believer in doing, especially if the conflict or getting rid of that conflict is going to put you two on one accord. Conflict is likely it's likely if each partner sees things differently. So if you're thinking one thing or one way and your partner sees something differently or thinking a different way, you're likely to have different expectations and then that can be a bad outcome. And then speaking of conflict, which is another reason why or can be responsible for creating or difficulty in creating intimacy, how can you or how does one or even why would you want to create intimacy in a relationship if you're constantly having conflict? Let's say you're constantly arguing with a person, or you're always angry with the person, or hurt by a person. These type of feelings like hurt and anger, and like a trust or frustration, it all influence intimacy. And then if you have conflict, communication is probably poor. So those are just a couple reasons why, or responsible, yeah, reasons why you may have problems in creating intimacy. Come on, yeah. I think confidence is a con. Why do you think confidence is a con, Enigma? Why do you think that's a con? Being on one accord can help create intimacy. You think like we have to be on the same level to be intimate, if that makes sense. Yes, it makes sense. It makes sense. If we're constantly having conflict, I wouldn't want to. All right, so earlier someone said they can't be intimate with someone they don't love, but they can have sex with someone. Or now I'm assuming this part, they can have sex with someone they're not there where there's no intimacy. If we're constantly having conflict and you wouldn't want to, would you still do it even though you wouldn't want to? Oh, confidence means I can find something, someone Myself, maybe. Okay. All right. Okay. I see how you put that together. Apparently, we don't go together, so I wouldn't even want to attempt to create any level of intimacy with you. It's a waste to me, but you will still sleep with that person. It can be other, I guess, practical issues that create difficulty in creating and sustaining intimacy. Like say long days or nights at work. You have financial worries, you have kids may be acting up, just everyday life stressors, right? You have to take the time out of your day, I think, where it's just the two of you. If it's a 5 minute, 10 minute break, just to, I don't know what y'all young kids drink, tea, coffee, milk, whatever. I think that's important. Another one that I've had experience with in learning from the plight of some people is abuse, any type of abuse, mental, physical, emotional, otherwise. Any person who uses power over another in an inappropriate manner, that can be viewed as abuse and therefore make it difficult to create intimacy and keep that intimacy. And hey, if you are in that type of relationship, please seek some help. Please seek some help. But what are some other ways where it's been difficult, or some other reasons behind it being difficult for you to create and sustain intimacy? How do you separate intimacy with a friend you like, but they only want friend with benefits? How do you separate intimacy with a friend you like, but they only want friend benefits? Well, if it's just a friend that you like, and I believe you're the one who was talking about spiritual intimacy, emotional intimacy, physical intimacy. Are you talking about all three of those? You want to separate that and not develop that with that person, or is it just one or two of them? Nonetheless, nonetheless, it it depends how important, and that's what I was asking earlier. How important is intimacy in a relationship that you have? But if it's really important, then I don't think you can separate it. It's almost like you're talking to yourself. You're talking the question and answer out loud. That's what I'm kind of reading. Okay. Yes, Stallings, you're kind of repeated, or you said. I repeated what you said. It seems. I think some of us are putting too much on it. I don't think intimacy has to be created. I think it's the natural state of things, and we make it complex with all of our BS. So it can be created. It can be something that's natural. Naturally, as time goes on and we're moving in one direction, it can be naturally created. But other things you have to work at, such as if you communicate a certain way and the person you're with communicates a different way, are you are you are you willing to open up and receive the information he or she wants to put out? Or do you do a lot of talking and now you need to listen more? So now you're becoming an active listener versus whereas you used to be a passive listener. So it depends on what intimacy means to you. And I just gave a communicative type of example, but that's one example, or one way where it is created, that you have to create an environment that's conducive for intimacy to blossom and thrive. So some of it is natural, I believe, but some of it takes work and something that you do. Intimacy can't be separated. I disagree. It can be separated. It absolutely can be separated. Absolutely. That is driven by what intimacy means to you, though. What intimacy means to you. Because for me, when I was saying how I don't, it's beyond physical and sex. It's beyond physical and sex, and it's about being able to be open and transparent and vulnerable, where I feel safe, secure, and trust that the other person isn't going to take what I'm telling them a certain way and do certain things with it. Then I can keep my wall up, prevent any intimacy from forming, and still be with the person, sleep with them, or what have you. So it can be separated. It's hard when you feel like you can't communicate with your partner, or depending on what the topic is, automatically he's going to be on edge. That can be difficult. Where if if you have these feelings that have developed based on some type of historical context, is then you as the sender of information need to look for a way to deliver or communicate with that person, knowing what he or she is and how they are. However, learn why he or she, or in your case, learn why he's on edge or why he would be on edge. And I think that can help start. It can be both. It's you say, can it be created or only discovered? It can be both. That's not a one or another, one option thing. It can be both. It can be created. And I think your question came in. I saw it late, but I think I already answered that. It can be both. It can be created. I gave an example of creating it. How if I'm used to passively listening, so I'm watching TV or on my phone or anything, and I'm just like, oh yeah, that's great, right? And I'm there, I'm physically there, but I'm not paying attention. And your partner sees that as being rude or not focused on him or her. Now I need to start actively listening. So that's me creating it. Discovered would be in it's something where you it was already in you and you just didn't know, right? So what could be in me is a passive listener. There's no active listening in me, but I learned how to do it, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I got to do this. I didn't discover something that was in me. I learned something. I did something. I changed something. Intimacy is difficult when the communication is not there. I agree. It can be difficult. I'm waiting. Are we talking intimacy or a person's sense of intimacy? I think that's one and the same, right? So intimacy can be from the one person's perspective or the other person, that second person, or just collectively. Maybe I'm talking about a sense of intimacy. Why do you think that? Why do you think maybe you're talking about a sense of intimacy? Why do you think that? Why do you think that? That's a good question or statement you made, but why do you think you could be talking about a sense of intimacy? Are you saying that you're talking about a feeling of intimacy, such as you feel close to the person, but you're really not? It's more of that feeling that's not necessarily true. Is that what you're getting at? Great, great question. Tree, can I ask why you would be in a relationship with someone communication is an issue? Well, we all have communication issues. Every relationship does. Everyone does. That's very important as well as comprehension of the communication ability to come to at least a compromise. Communication take work that I don't think most prioritize. Well, let me say good or productive communication. It's something that comes out of love and respect for one another. I agree. I agree with that statement. I agree. Most times we have too much going on, so therapy helps with that. That could, you're right. It could. Therapy can definitely help, and I do recommend. I do recommend therapy. I know us, especially Black people, we tend to shy away for a number of reasons, but it's definitely needed and beneficial. Good point. No relationship is perfect, and sometimes things within a relationship you have to work on. That's a good point. That's a good point. I told you all my ideas of what intimacy is and how it's beyond anything that's sexual or physical. I read it was a study. I think it was a longitudinal study which is where it's a study that happens over a long period of time. They're measuring things at different intervals, and on that study, one of the conclusions was that men were men who stated that they were sexually satisfied. They reported being satisfied in other areas of the relationship, more so than women did, and this kind of suggested that from a relationship satisfaction is linked to more how sexually satisfied we are. And for the men out there, do you agree? If you're sexually satisfied, are you likely to say that the relationship is going good? And women, how true is this? How true is this for you? Is there any type of correlation or connection between sexual satisfaction and overall relationship satisfaction? All right, I just saw your let me rethink, Stallings. Because that's important. You said a sense of intimacy, and it's too broad of a term. I think I know what you're getting, but you talk about a sense of intimacy, meaning it's it may not be reality. You feel that you're closer, you feel this or you feel that, but it may not be. Is that what you meant by a sense of? It was something you got into hoping it would develop over time. That's a good point, Campbell, that you brought up. Even beyond the scope of this particular session, where I don't know, it just seems that women, in my experiences, you all will hold on to hope, and which is measured in time. So the more or the longer something is, the tighter you're holding on, and you think time is going to fix it or develop it or change it, and it really that's just not the case for many in many circumstances. But going back to my last question is that study that I read. I don't know. It was can't recall. It may have been 3 or 4 years ago. It was a longitudinal study where they measured and studied people and couples over a long period of time. I think it was like a 2 or 3 year period, and it was saying that for men, or a conclusion was men who reported being sexually satisfied, they reported higher numbers of relationship satisfaction than women. And so my question to the men is, do you agree? If you are sexually satisfied, are you likely to say that the relationship is going good? And then same thing for women. Is this true for you? Is there a correlation, some type of connection between sexual satisfaction and overall relationship satisfaction? Oh, so right, both of them are important. Okay, but is there a link, there a correlation between the two? And then, especially from a man's standpoint, I want to hear if, if you're sexually satisfied, are you likely to say the relationship is going good? I know for me, if I'm not sexually satisfied, I'll say the relationship is bad, but I don't know if I would say it's good just because sex is good or if I'm sexually satisfied. What do you all think? What do you all think? What do you all think? No, yeah, I don't think. No, just because I'm sexually satisfied, I would not say. I think in the past I may have been like that, but today, as I am now, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't say. No, I don't think so. Good to see you, Tyson. I don't think so. The sex can be great, but there can still be problems that can leave one unsatisfied overall. I'm that same way. I'm that same way. I used to be more in line with the results or the conclusion of the exploration of this subject with the researchers who stated that men who were sexually satisfied reported higher numbers of relationship satisfaction. I think I was once in that group, but not anymore. Not not anymore. Anybody else agree or disagree? Or what's your opinion on that? What is your opinion? What is your opinion? Meaning it got to be more. Well, that's not the case. And but to get to that growth is commitment and dedication. Okay. And then I have a couple of more questions. Then we're going to transition to the sex part of it. But I want to know what do you think? Do you think if you're sexually satisfied, you're likelier to say that you're satisfied in your relationship more or so? And I used to be like that, but not anymore. I'll have to connect in other ways. What was the last? So the last question was, it was from a study that I read, or it emanated from as a result of a study that I read that concluded men who reported that they were sexually satisfied reported higher numbers than women in that, or when saying that they were satisfied in a relationship standpoint. So if they were satisfied sexually, they were likelier to say that I'm satisfied overall in my relationship than compared to women. I wanted to know from men, do you feel that? If you're sexually satisfied, are you likelier to say you're satisfied overall in a relationship? The women, is there any correlation or connection for you? So do you have to feel feel with the communication barrier that I'm holding on to? Nothing. I was confused by your statement. Oh, can't recall exactly what I was saying, but just been my experience over the years, over the decades, that women, especially compared to men, hold on to time, hold on to hope. And someone earlier had made a comment about hoping that something would change. And my point is that women will tend to hold on to hope, hold on to just because of longevity. They see longevity, they continue to hold on to something that's not necessarily ever going to come, because you have to know the person. Again, as I said in all 3 episodes, that men, we can compartmentalize things, especially sex. But even if it's more than just sex, you hold on to things. I think that's what I was talking about. If I'm not sexually satisfied, the relationship is not going to be good. Okay, Weaver. I think I would say the relationship is going good with my head down. That is a nasty X-rated statement. Campbell, from this here. And some, like Don, would say a woman is supposed to keep her head down and keep her head down. So nobody thinks that if they're sexually satisfied, no one is saying that if they're sexually satisfied, they're going to say overall that the relationship, they're satisfied in the relationship. And I don't know what the hypothesis was of this longitudinal study. I don't know. I can't recall that part, what they hypothesized, and if it was proven or if it was confirmed or validated or not. I can't recall that part. I just remember the results, some of the results, the outcome. So I don't even know what the researchers thought. No, it's more than just, okay, Letitia, I hear you. It's going good with my head down. I agree with Tyson. Welcome, T. I don't think so. Sex can be great, but there can still be problems that can leave one unsatisfied overall. I used to be the type where I did not care how the rest of the relationship was going. So if I was sexually satisfied, it's all good for me because that's all it was about. Even if she thought that it was about something different. And these were shorter relationships, but I struggle now. But besides sex, other areas are satisfying to overlook the huge disappointment. Okay. I'm sorry about that huge disappointment, Harrison. But that's where the working on the communication comes in at. But both people have to be willing and open and knowing that's what they want. I agree. Great point. Yeah, T-shirt. That's where the working on communication comes in at. But both people have to be willing and open and knowing that's what they want. Yes. So communication is extremely important. We've talked about it here. I've talked about it in some other episodes that I've done. I've talked about it in some of my other videos that are non-interactive, where it's just more formalized, me speaking and nobody online with me. But it's extremely. And I'm not talking about just passive listening, where you're sitting there and you're present, but not understanding or hearing them. You're just responding every so often. You're waiting on cues for you to say something. I'm talking about actively listening and being a participant, a willing participant in the conversation. All right, so it doesn't look like anybody would say that if they are sexually satisfied, they would also say because of that, they're satisfied in the relationship. And that is an interesting outcome. So I'm gonna move on to the next question. couple of questions that someone sent me, so I'm going to ask, and it's more in the relationship side. We haven't quite reached the sex side of it yet, but does your partner have to be your best friend? Why or why not? Mike Adele, so you're saying that's not true. That came in a little late. I'm not even sure what you're referring to. What's not true? I want you to be right. I just don't know what you're talking about. Does your partner have to be your best friend? Why or why not? I'll reserve my answer for now. Do you think your partner has to be your best friend? As a woman, how could my partner not be my best friend? Because you're a person and you get to decide who you want your best friend to be. I don't know how to answer that anyway, but blunt and straight. So, what do you mean? How can your partner? Because you're still a person. Has to be your. Oh, okay. Has to be your. Because when all fails, you need your friend. Okay. So you're saying no, your partner does not have to be your best friend. Does your partner have to be your best friend? If you're intimate with your partner, then no one is closer. Okay, I guess that depends on how one defines intimacy. I was with someone. Well, let me paint a picture. I was with someone who, and it didn't last very long, so we got nowhere near to being best friends. But she was with people where, in a long term relationship before I got with her. And she was one thing to her partner, but she was able to speak differently with her male, who she called her best friend. She can talk to him about things that she couldn't talk to her mate about, or so she thought. I'm not sure why. We didn't get into all of that, but I just know that she communicated differently to her best friend who was male. Is that okay in a relationship? I agree. They definitely should be your best friend. One form of that goes overlooked and sure. Not talking sex either. For me, it's just something that feels off. I haven't seen my wife or I haven't done something with her today. I appreciate that. I appreciate that statement. That's definitely not everybody's feelings, but I appreciate that statement. I can't go long periods with some affection from without with some affection. I think you meant without from my wife. So not all my vulnerability is shared with my best friends. Hey Dyson, fashionably late. Well, you know how some black people are, right? You're probably just on time. But we are talking about intimacy in relationships. I've asked a few questions already. What does intimacy in a relationship mean to you? How important is it? What are some difficulties? I think I had, yeah, what are some difficulties in creating and sustaining intimacy in your relationship? And then I moved on from I asked if you're sexually satisfied in a relationship, would you then also state that you were satisfied in a relationship overall? And then the last question I asked, does your partner have to be your best friend? Why or why not? Yep, you're right on time. Right on time. And I'm going to hold my answer just for a moment. Does your partner have to be your best friend? Why or why not? My partner as my best friend would be icing on the cake. Okay, so that doesn't tell me anything. That doesn't answer the question. Are you saying they have to be? Because your answer suggests that they don't necessarily have to be, but if they are, they would be icing on the cake. So am I deducing correctly? Are you stating that your partner does not have to be your best friend? Weaver. No, no, not for me. I've been in a situation where sex was good, but everything else was dead. I can't do it. For most men, I think we are likely to say we think the relationship is good for her. In my eyes, my partner is my best friend. I tell him everything, even things I'm not supposed to tell him. What the hell? What are you not supposed to tell him? Because we are sexing her right or good. This depends on what defines a best friend. Yeah, that's a good point. No one's asked about that yet. So best friend is just that. Your best friend. What that is a subjective thing, but the best friend is the person you would generally go to about really anything. And I'm not saying that you have to rely on him or her for every single thing, but he or she would be that one that you would go to, that you would want to go to, that you would want to talk to, that you would want to connect with. That's how I view it. Like your closest friend, I guess, is how we can define it here. But that's a good point. They don't have to be, but it definitely makes it better when they so then so they know vulnerability. Not sure what that means. Things that my friend would suggest that I shouldn't let you know, but I'm looking at it as being innocent when you could look at it as being more. So your friends, all right, so you're thinking about telling your partner something. You tell your friend, who I guess isn't your best friend, but you tell friends, and they say no, don't tell him. We had somebody earlier, I think Bruno was talking about how, and he didn't say this, but I'm gathering from his story that the girl's friend said no, don't do something, and then it backfired. You just have to be careful when you're going to other people about how you should handle or what you should do with or not do with your partner. I don't think I don't think they should be best friends. That's just me. Can they be good friends? Sure. Can they be great friends? Absolutely. But should they be best friends? No, I don't think they have to be. Or I shouldn't have said I don't think they should be. The question was, do they have to be? And that's what I meant. No, they don't have to be. And why not? Because and that's kind of subjective. For for me, I don't even want a best friend, right? Because I'm not that close to anyone. So I don't want a best friend, but I don't think it has to be the person that I'm with. And I don't think it has to be the person that I'm with because man, I have a ton of reasons. But one of it centers around just their ability to handle anything that I throw at them. And when I come, they must be quick and able to get it, understand, and all the questions that come along with it. I don't do well with that. So they don't have to be my best friend or a close friend. They don't have to be that. Because with friendships, you can lose if something goes awry or something goes wrong or there's a problem. You can end that friendship. But if you have a lover or your partner and they have a separate role, a second role, or at least a second role to which is your best friend, I have to break up with my best friend because we're just not working out as friends. Now, how do I handle this other role? Like we can no longer be best friends, but if they're independently tied together, that becomes a problem. So that's how I view it. That's probably my main. I know I said there are many reasons, but they all kind of center on that issue. That if you're my best friend and I want to break up with that best friend, like you're just not doing it for me. I can't break up with the best friend without breaking up with the person. So that's why. What's wrong with being best friends with your partner? There's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. And it can be one sided where, because we all have friends who they would say they wouldn't. I know people who say this person's my best friend, but that same person would say it the other way. They have a best friend, right? So you can be best friends with your partner and they don't view it the same. That happens. I think it depends on your objective purpose in the marriage or relationship, if that would even matter. It does. It does depends on your objective and purpose. But independent of that, devoid of any deceitfulness or anything like that, you can still have issues with your friend, with the friend part, and not the husband or the wife or the girlfriend or boyfriend part. You have issues with the friend part, like their friend loves to gossip, right? I I wouldn't do well with that. I like her in other ways, but I can't have a best friend who just can't stop gossiping. So if I had a friend who gossiped, I would be done with that friend, literally done. So I wouldn't have anything to do with her again or him again. Our last conversation would be our last conversation. I can't do that if the person, my partner, is my best friend. I can't break up the best friend part without her being in her feelings and emotional, and then it causes other issues. I don't have time for all of that. So for me, that's why I couldn't have it being my best friend. But I am not opposed to other people doing it, or I wouldn't even I wouldn't recommend people not do that. It's you definitely need to do what's best for you in your situation. So is your partner your friend and all? Yes. Friend, yes, yeah. Partners can be friends, yes. But best friend or close or anything like that, no, I'm too much of a closed uh, book where yeah, I'm too much of a closed book. So because once I open my book, all hell breaks loose. So, but best friend, no, no, I wouldn't have them being my partner, be my best friend, because I want to be able to separate. I want to be able to walk away from my friend if he or she were to do something that I didn't like. If they were my best friend, I have to put up with two things, right? Two different paths, two different roles, and all that. All right. So next question, two more, and then we're going to switch to the sex part of it. What's a deal breaker for you in a relationship? What's a deal breaker for you in a relationship? What's a deal breaker for you in a relationship? What's a deal breaker? What's a deal breaker? I have a couple, but I want to hear your thought. It says, does that cause intimate issues? The closed book? No, nope. Because intimacy, we talked about it being created or discovered. We talked about how intimacy can come from one person or the other, or from neither, and it's just kind of jointly created. It hasn't caused intimate issues on my side. I can say that. How another person over the years have felt, I couldn't tell you because I was probably passively listening. I'm not sure. It's easier if your partner is your best friend. That's what definitely one way to look at it. That is, I do respect your opinion. It depends on your personality, your depends how your cognitive processing of information, how you process things. It can be easier. I'll agree with that. That it could be easier if they are your best friends. The deal breaker would be lies in all capital letters. All right. All right, Dyson. So cheating without your consent. What the hell is cheating with consent? That's what I want to know. Cheating without your consent. What is cheating? I know what the words mean, but I've never heard that statement. That's the problem. You got to open up, especially when your partner is 100% open with you. Let her in trust. Two things I would say. One, don't have to do a damn thing, right? So no, I don't have to open if you're addressing me saying I'm kind of close. So I don't have to do that. But two, if I were, I'm not closed for a reason or as closed for a reason. Everything is predicated on historical data. Sometimes it can be unfair historical data based on, like, I'm bringing other situations from past relationships to this one. It can be something like that. Or more accurately and more likely, historical content of the current relationship. So if I tried to open and it was shut down for any number of reasons, then not only do I close the book back, I put saran wrap on it, and then I put that in a safe, and then I take that safe and I put that in a vault. Then I take the vault and I bury that. Someone you share your bed, children, bills, life, most vacation, and love till death you part. Then it would be wonderful if it's your best friend. It sounds like a great time there, but it's definitely not the only thing. So everything you said, that is definitely subjective. It would be wonderful. Definitely isn't 100% thing. I'll say that it could be wonderful if it is your best friend. It could be, not that it would be wonderful if it is your best friend, because I know people who they share all of those things and they hate their spouse. They hate their partner. Robbing your trust. Okay, so they rob your trust. Harrison, what expound on that for me? Expound on that for me. What's a deal breaker in your relationship? You said robbing your trust. Okay, cheating with your consent would be okay. I get it. Is that something you're into? And data is based on interpretation, at times true. Yes, so data is based on analyzing interpretation at times. Yes, correct. Data is based on interpretation at times, and you're interpreting something that has already happened. You can't. It's impossible to interpret something that has not already happened. And trust is big for me. All right, so we got overwhelmingly, I think trust is a deal breaker. And I guess trust can be broken in many, many ways from time to time. Okay, I get it. I'm not having nobody around me where I got to wonder about you and what you're going to do. Tree, do you have to wonder? Do you have to wonder, or do you just find yourself wondering? Definitely unfair when you're basing it off of your past relationship. It can be unfair. It can be unfair if you're basing, if things in your current relationship is driven or influenced by your past relationships. However, to a degree, we are who we are based on what we did and what we saw, what we experienced. So you definitely, I wouldn't say to shun all of that or to cut yourself off or dismiss those things, like you're starting afresh, starting anew, because then what dictates what you carry over? What dictates the good that came from that? Like you learn how to, for example, to become an active listener. What dictates what you bring? Do you bring all the good stuff and leave all the negative stuff? Because then that's not fair. If me bringing like to hesitation to my current relationship, that wouldn't be fair. That I have to leave certain things, but I can only bring the good, but I have to leave the bad. I should get to bring whatever I want to bring to the relationship. And I'm not talking about comparison or comparing things like how she was versus how like she could cook or she can dance or she can whatever, and then comparing it to the current. I'm not talking about it from that standpoint. I'm talking about it from a. I've noticed trends that women, when they say one thing quickly without thinking, but then they kind of look away, like if you're reading body language. If I notice that in people, and specifically my last person, I can't say, or what dictates that I can't use that in my current situation. So now I'm hesitant on saying certain things. So I'm not too sure about the whole unfair if you're basing off your past relationship, because I think it's depending on what it is. It's not good to pour new wine into old wineskins, right? So no, while I agree with that, I'm not even talking about that. So it depends. It's perception. I'm talking about even the act of pouring anything into anything else. So it can be new wine into a cup, right? So I'm pouring new wine into a cup, but is it this motion that I'm hesitant for even pouring wine into a new wine into a new cup? That's what I'm talking about. So I think you're looking at it a little differently than what I'm saying. My point of view, robbing trust. A person that has gained your trust and stripped you from being able to trust them in all areas of life. Like robbing trust is the same way. Okay. Oh, okay. I get it. The next the next question, and yeah, this is the third question that was sent to me. And it kind of deals with relationships, but this is more for women. It says, women, if you had a six-figure man, but he was lacking in the bedroom, would you stay with him? And if so, why? If you had a six-figure man, but he was lacking in the bedroom, would you stay with him? And if so, why? And while you all are answering that, I'm still reading some of these other ones coming in. You shouldn't bring nothing from your old relationship into your new relationship. They're old for a reason. So my point with that is then you can't bring any of you, anything that you've learned, any of what you've learned either not to do, because that'd be bringing stuff in, how you've changed for the good. Let's say I was lazy in my last relationship. I didn't do anything to help out. Just over time, I learned how to and gave effort in cooking and cleaning and rearing kids or whatever the case. Are you saying that it's okay that I go back to being lazy because I learned that in my last relationship? I learned how not to be lazy. Then if you're saying that, I think you're saying that just to make a point. If you would say, yes, you need to go back to being lazy. However, if you're honest, you would say, no, I need you to bring that in what you learned. But then that would go against the whole you shouldn't bring anything from your own relationships. So I think you really should think about what the words mean that you're using when you say you shouldn't bring nothing. You said nothing, but nothing can be anything. Be careful on what you're saying. So maybe rethink what you're saying and and come back with something else. I would not have to wonder if they broke my trust because they would become a non-factor from here out. Okay. All right, Dyson, you said if he was lacking in the bedroom, you would stay with them only until you started making six figures. And thanks for your candor and being honest. Why would you stay? I get at what point you wouldn't stay, which is once you started, but why would you stay? So why would you stay? Why would you stay? I didn't think anybody's going to be honest with that question. I didn't think any ladies were going to be honest with that question. No, we're doing what works for us, and we're not basing it off of our relationship because what worked in my last relationship may not work in this one, and vice versa. Right. Okay. So I agree with that. Key word though still is may not work. You don't even know if it would work, meaning a person bringing stuff from their old relationship to their new one. You don't even know if it would, but you're suggesting or stating that the man, or in this case, I'll use me, that I should not bring anything from my past relationship to my current relationship. And you're saying no, we're doing what works for us. Are you telling me then that me pitching in, me helping to cook and clean and rear children and help with homework, and me cutting grass and taking out the trash, all of which I would have learned in my previous relationship, are you saying, because you used the word nothing and I'm using that sentence, I'm changing that a little, using the word anything, because you said you shouldn't bring nothing. I'm saying you shouldn't bring anything. So are you saying that everything I would have learned that was good in that relationship, not to bring it to this current one? I don't believe that for 1 second. I think you're saying this to make your point, but I don't even think that you think that. I don't even think you believe that, because I have a feeling that if a man were and they got with you and they were lazy, they didn't they weren't helping with anything, they just always sitting around playing PlayStation or what's out there, Xbox, or always doing whatever, but just being lazy, and you're working all day. You come home and nothing's done, and you're the one got to take out trash, or you're the one got to help. I do not think for a moment that you will be okay with that. I just don't believe that. So whatever you feel, please continue to say. But I just don't agree. I don't agree with that. I don't think that's the case. Learning experience, yes, but nothing more from the past. So, and that's what I was getting to earlier, that it really depends on what's coming in. Hello, mother. Thank you for listening. The question the question is, do if you were with a six-figure man, but he was lacking in the bedroom, would you stay with him? If you would, why? Deal breakers: lying, cheating, small d, arguing all the time, and overly possessive. You have a lot of requirements that must be met. Uh, right. I think a lot of women stayed with men who sucked in the bedroom because he provided security and other valuable things to the table. Good point. Campbell, I do know, I've come across women in my life who were like that. Like, why are you staying with this guy? He's any number of things. He's ugly. He has a short person complex. He's abusive, either physically or mentally, especially mentally and emotionally. Why are you staying with this person? It's because of that. It's because he provided stability and security and comfort. Not good comfort, but comfort from there's a house type thing. All right, Enigma. I bring everything from the past. What's some of that? Life is too short. I'm not going to stay anywhere I don't want to be too long. However, if this guy's making six figures, I have to do what I have to do until I get all I need. Okay. And I'm not trying to pick on you, Dyson, but that statement, life is too short. I've heard that people say that in many facets, in many situations. When life is too short, life is literally the longest thing a person can do. Life is the longest thing a person can do. I don't understand the statement most of the time when people say life is too short. Life is literally the longest thing that anyone will ever do. Yeah, not picking on you just made me think of conversations I've had with people and say, well, life is too short. Life is this. No, it's literally the longest thing that anyone can ever do. Not, you said not if it's negative, right? You're already bringing negativity to the relationship. So then your statement of you shouldn't bring nothing. I'm using the word anything. You shouldn't bring anything to to your current relationship from the past. You don't really mean that. So are you gonna clean that up, or are you just gonna keep with it? And you're trying to alter it now. Are you gonna clean it up? So now you're saying leave the negative in the past, bring the positive forward. And that's what I've been trying to get you to say all this time, but you've been a little tough. One big one for me is a lack of appreciation for the things I do when I don't have to do them. It's big for you. All right, so that's one of your languages of how a person expresses and love and all of that. What if they were appreciative, but they didn't show it in a way? Could they be appreciative but not show it in the way that you're expecting? She had me rolling. Okay. All right, Enigma. So you bring anger issues and paranoia and violence and regular stuff. Okay, that is that's quite funny. You might as well. All right, so I want all of those things, especially the good things, but I don't think that's something you should have learned in your past relationship. That should be something you automatically bring it to the. I'm guessing you meant bring it to the table, right? So we learn when we learn. No one's born knowing everything that they currently know. So you learn along the way. So if it's the past relationship, or it could be two relationships ago, we don't know. However, it's still the past. Let's just say it's the past. So you said, I want all of those things, but you shouldn't be something you learn in your past relationship that you should be something you automatically bring it to the table. Have you not learned anything in your most recent relationship? It could be what not to do, or how not to be, or how not to talk, or how not to address, how not to present. So we're not going to agree on this topic. So we can table it, use the word table, we can table it, but I do not agree when a person says, don't, don't bring, you shouldn't bring your past relationship to the table. I think it depends. But maybe what she feels, I'm not sure what that goes to. Glad I got my own. Okay, I hear you. Yes, the six-figure man. Would you bring, for those of you just joining us, the last question is, if for the ladies, if you were with a six-figure man, but he lacked in a bedroom, would you stay with him, and why? I agree with you. All right, so I'm still learning, but the negative stuff I definitely wouldn't bring it to another relationship. All right, so it seems like you backed off on the whole don't bring anything from your past relationship. See, and you are learning. See, you are learning. Y'all learning. All right. So this next question, we're going to kind of transition. I'll still read YouTube again. Can be latent with their posting of messages. Sometimes the delay is just a second or two. Other times it can take a while. On a serious note, yes, I do. I don't beat women up, but I bring the good and bad. I try to do better every day, period, for myself. All right, Enigma, I definitely wouldn't want you beating up women, but I do understand. My clock was coming out, but I do understand. Based on some things you've told me anyway, I do understand. I do understand. At Paris, right? I have my own, but I still want more. All right, so don't we all, right? We all want more. I learned to name my price and never accept anything less from my past. See, and that's good, Enigma. But earlier, there was a person or two saying, don't bring anything from your past. And they end up changing up. So they want the good from the past, not the bad and everything. So we're going to transition. The next question is kind of going to transition us out of the relationship part and more into the sex part of this session. And the first question I've asked before in a different, I think, episode or different session altogether, but want to know how important is sex to you in your relationship, and then where does it rank on your priority list of things in your relationship? How important is sex to you in relationships? How important is sex to you in your relationship, and where does it rank on your priority list? All right, I got an 8. Where does it rank? How important is it, and where does it rank? And I will defer my answer for a little bit. The question is how important is sex in a relationship, and where does it rank? And however you're using your ranking, if it's a 1 through 10, 10 being high, or some other measuring stick, just let us know how you're measuring. If it's not 1 through 10, with 10 being high. So you said it's important, but how important? You can give it a letter grade, a number grade, a low, medium, high, however you want to do it. How important is sex to you, and where does it rank on your list of priorities? How important is sex for you? Where does it rank in your list of priorities? It's high, but not a deal breaker like intimacy or trust. It's important. Okay. Want to know what Don feels. Haven't heard from him in a minute. Top of the top. We can lie, but sex is life force. Next to the feelings of needing to eat and sleep, sex is just as important. Okay. I got another 8 out of 10. One person saying it is the top. Besides needing to eat and sleep, Tree said it. Most women stay with a man with bad sex because of the security. That's why parents would stay. Okay, that ain't cool to say, but that is your opinion and feeling. Are you saying? I think I just got what you're saying. Are you saying she's in a relationship where the sex is bad, but the security she's staying? Yeah, that's not cool at all. Sexual compatibility is big for you. All right, so I understand the sexual compatibility, but how important is sex to you in your relationship? Can you address this question? What if your partner prefer you to initiate sex first? And as a woman, I believe a man should lead, but I'm flexible to lead, but prefer a man to lead. I think each relationship is different. Whereas men in general are created, born to propagate their seed and to lead to or to hunt, and we give. That's why we have something to give, and women have an opening to receive. It's your preference, right? So if you prefer, if you want your partner to initiate, and that's your preference. If he is not willing to, then you have two options, right? You can stay, or three. You can stay. You can initiate more, or you can just accept that he is not going to. That's the fortunate or unfortunate truth to relationships, where I've been with people who they were used to the man initiating. Me so much, I'm almost 50-50, where I don't care if I initiate or not, or who initiates. But because I'm much more attracted to intellect, and that's more of a turn on. If I'm having a stimulating conversation, that'll put me in a mood to initiate. But if not, I'll just lay there and read a book or watch TV or think about any number of things at times besides sex. It doesn't matter if they're right beside me clothed. And I've been that way for a very, very, very long time. Because a lot of times I think if I just show up and take off my clothes, that is going to do it. Right. So that's it. But it just depends. Again, I'm used to women who that they weren't having sex unless the man initiated. So good point. What do you all think about that? What if your partner prefer you to initiate sex first? As a woman, I believe a man should lead, but I'm flexible to lead, but prefer a man to. No, please, no. I just realized what you said. Do not use that word flexible here in this session, because we got on a tangent and we probably spoke for about an hour on flexible sexuals. I think that's what it was called. And I do not want to go back down that road, but I do want to go back down that road. So someone said a 9 is important. For me, sexes are probably between a 6 and a 7. Probably a 7. Good sex is high. That's a 9 or 10. But sex important in a relationship is probably a 6 or 7 for me. Financially staying is the number one reason for staying with someone that sucks in bed. All right, Bunny, I hear you. That sucks. And I think that's probably more from what a woman's standpoint. If he's rich, I can do 2 or 3. If you're rich, I can do a 2 or 3. Wait, are we talking about bad sex versus good sex? No, we just saying sex. Period. But if you want to comment, then you can. It's a turn on with initiates. A lioness and hunt that thing. Flex, right? And they okay. I'm just seeing what you're saying. It been came in, but I'm just getting to it. Right. So flexible. We don't want to talk about that. I can drive the bus. I've had sex on a couple of buses. I actually lost my virginity. I'm not going to tell you all that story. I think for me, it's the cultural language. All right. Yes, Taylor's up there. Sex is important, rank a 10 plus. All right, so sex is even more important. Okay, it's greater than intimacy. I get it. I get it. I get it. Come on. Why do I stay starting a story and don't tell it? Because I don't go back and watch anything that we record or anything. I like to just each session or each episode just to have a new take or be original. So even if I repeat something that I've said before, it's still original in the sense of I didn't go back and watch and say, okay, I need to say something different next time. But in general, I don't do that. But I think I've watched two or three. Yeah, two or three. In all of those, I'm thinking, man, I am saying way too much about my life on this thing. So I'm trying to catch myself. But you asked, and I'll finish the finish the story. Somebody mentioned bus. I actually lost my virginity on a church bus while we were on a church trip going somewhere. I forgot. I can't recall where. So you had the older people up front and everything, and we were separated by, I don't know. It was about half filled, and we were all the way at the back. And you know how they got the mirrors and they can see all the way down. So I'm certain the driver saw us because they had that mirror where they can see all the way back. But yes, I lost my virginity. Church bus. I got it. Yeah. Yes, a woman wants to feel wanted. Okay, so I think people in general want to feel wanted, but uh, women, I do see that they do want to feel wanted. Yes, it's a turn on when he initiates. Makes you feel like I'm not the only one wanting it. See, this is why I don't say anything, right? Okay. Yes, have mercy. Sure. All right, see, I agree. If you don't want to talk about Enigma, you shouldn't have to. Don't give in to the pressure like I just did. But your church story may not be the same as mine, so we probably should not do that. I'm just saying, you probably shouldn't because your stories are different. Like the one I've told twice already about how the one girl was waiting downstairs. So yeah, they could show appreciation other ways that I'm careful about being sure I know they are unappreciated. It's about the checks and balances. We've all seen those taken. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and especially if your love language is appreciation and you things that you do you want them to show you appreciation, and hopefully you're communicating that with them, and for that to be a big issue for you, hopefully you're communicating that effectively and frequently. All right, so if you're going to get stoned to death, Enigma, please refrain from that. And we'll talk about it offline because I desperately want to know. These are six-figure dudes that be out here broke. I was one at one point. Right. So how much it doesn't because you can make more money, you just got more problems or more debt. So that's just that's just what it is. Next question. Can sex thrive in a schedule if it's consistently scheduled? Can it thrive in a relationship? I'll defer my answer. Okay. The question is, can sex thrive in a relationship if it's scheduled, if it's frequently scheduled? And then, of course, we life may throw wrenches in that, and reason why you schedule it. It could be, I don't know, you got kids, or it can be harder to be spontaneous, or kids have appointments or after school activities, and any number of reasons. You work different shifts, or shifts that aren't in parallel. There's some overlap and everything, but there can be many reasons why. So I'm saying, can sex thrive in a relationship if it's scheduled? Like looking at TV screens around the room. I'm not sure what you're responding to. Are you saying looking at TV screens around the room, and that's what's okay? Weird. I see. Like looking at TV screens around the room. That's going to who will be looking at TV screens around the room if y'all are how is that preventing sex from happening? You know, when you said that, I'm just imagining like y'all at, I don't know, you're in like a Best Buy or something, where in the back all the big TVs are in this room that you go in and everything, and you're trying to get frisky or whatever, and the person you're there with is just enamored with all the TVs and everything. That's what came to mind. What kind of sick bastard schedules the Hong Kong sausage law? I don't think should be frequently scheduled, but sometimes it's necessary. Woman's the modern day has lost her pair bonding abilities after having been pumped and dumped by Champion. what, what does that ever mean? I don't know what that means. Woman's right was a mistake. What does that mean? It's funny. I don't even know. I don't know what that means. Okay. What? Please explain that. So here's my take on scheduled sex. I found it to be the best sex at times, or just some of the best sex, especially the longer the relationship has gone. It can be more difficult to be spontaneous. And then you call it like that honeymoon period where you're just getting to know a person, and you've all likely have been there when you're first starting to get with someone. You're having them more and more often. Yeah, the whole acyclical nature of a man, anytime, anywhere, is probably no more prevalent or no more present than during that honeymoon phase. That's just who men are in general. But I think both are like that. Both sexes are like that. Both genders are like that in the beginning. But I think it can be more exciting, especially if you're deciding on a time and a place, and you make it interactive or fun. You build up that anticipation, and that can be with sending photos and like, yeah, this is what you're about to climb into, or this is what you're about to climb on, whatever the case, and thoughts. And so it depends what you do during the day leading up to it. In a sense, especially the younger generation, you all love texting and stuff like that. So it depends on what you do during the time, during the day. But if you just wake up in the morning like, oh, we're gonna have sex tonight, and all right, I'll see you later, and then that's really it, that can be boring. But if you're hyping it up, or getting you're saying things so everything in you is heightened and you're anticipating it, I think it can be. It doesn't have to be the obligatory uh, session or quickie or anything like that. It, I don't know. That's just me. In addition to what a couple of people say, like you got to make your partner feel wanted, especially when they feel wanted. But it depends how you go about it, in my opinion. Hey, Nicole. Yes, you're late, but some black people would say you're right on time. So right after we put the kids to bed, it's on. Well, some kids like to stay up late. Some kids like to stay up late, or they don't go to sleep right away. So you can put them to bed, but they're still up. Rain checks are accepted. What if it's always raining there, Harrison? Keep on passing the checks. Keep on passing the checks. Okay, Enigma, you get moody. You may have to work on that. You get you get moody. Yep, kids will mess it up for you a lot of times. I've been with people and they tell me some of their friend stuff, and they would put kids in a high chair, put a whole bunch of food in front of them, go upstairs and do what they do. They whatever. Yeah. So rain checks are accepted. So the question that I currently asked there, Nicole, and for those of you who are just joining us, make sure you hit that subscription button, notification bell. I wanted to know, can sex thrive in a relationship if it's scheduled often? You have to schedule it. My husband puts me in a hotel room now and then so I can get away from the kids. Then he has to sneak off and come see me late at night. We want it, but it ain't easy to get it. Yep, and sometimes that's what you got to do. But when he does that, right, that's scheduled to a degree, but it doesn't have to be boring, or it doesn't have to be where it's viewed as. I'm saying this because I've talked to people who feel this way. Scheduled sex is just not something that I'm interested in. I want to be spontaneous. It doesn't have to be. She get the sausage when I'm done cooking it. That is so funny. That's funny. It's always raining for you. So why do you always? What do you mean? It's always the whole rain check and keep pushing down the road. You need to. I don't know your situation, but maybe you need to get with someone else. Just saying. just saying. All right. So the next question, and this is more for this is for the ladies. And does the size is it the size that matters more, or how he captains the boat? And Stallings, I don't know if you're on here, but you don't have to answer. We Stallings, we know how you get if it's if it's if it's a size thing, if the guy's bigger. So you don't have to answer that. We already know what that does to you. But for the rest of you ladies, is it the size that matters more, or how he captains the boat? Sometimes you have to. I have 3 children. Okay, you're responding to scheduling. Yeah, so sometimes you do. But doing a little things like whispering in my ear when the kids aren't looking, slapping my butt, and me knowing that we have an appointment in the bed later on, it's exciting. Okay. Yeah, so YouTube be slow at times. It's late. 3 children. I have 3 children a year. Y'all gotta manage better. you, you damn sure do have 3 kids a year. so I cheat in my mind because I'm not a cheater. All right, Harrison, we can talk offline about that. The whole is always raining for you. But him saying you have 3 children, so Nicole, you saying that's hard and everything. Enigma saying 3 kids. Man, I do that a year. So you gotta manage better. That's funny. How he works it, because there have been some great wells with no skill, not good captain. not good captainship. That's extremely funny, but sad. I don't understand that. I do not get that. That escapes me. I'm not sure how that's even possible. So again, for the ladies, is it more about the size or how he captains the boat? More for the size or how he captains the boat? Somebody said facts. SP not good captains. It happens. Okay. Definitely the guy needs skills. I've had guys that didn't know what to do with that big old thing. I don't understand that. Nope. I don't get it. I don't understand it. All right, so next question. All right, so for this is for everyone. For those of you who haven't participated in, or at least not with the person that you're with, if you have never or not with the person you're with participated in a threesome, would you, if your partner came to you and asked about it, and then why or why not? Right. Oh, so you're with me, Enigma. You're trying to understand how is that possible? How could it be a well, as one person put it, but not know what to do with it? I don't get that. No, I don't understand. It sounds like it would be disrespectful. It sounds like it could be extremely disrespectful. Like you come here with that big old thing and you can't use it. I didn't mean to offend you there, Harrison. Please, Bunny, don't. Whatever you're thinking, we can just change the subject. It's all right. I have done so many threesomes and foursomes, and I'm over it. If my partner come to me about it, she's liable to get fired. First off, how can she get fired? What is her position? Well, in a 3 second man. Okay, what the hell does that even mean? But okay, all right. That sounds pretty horrible, I would say. Like you see it, women, ladies, and you're like, yes, yes. And then you're like, no, damn it, when it's over. Now I can see, well, premature ejaculation we can talk about for a long time. And the issues with that, the medical or chemical issues that can cause that delayed ejaculation, which some of us suffer from. It's the opposite of premature ejaculation. Even more uncommon is something called orgasmic illness syndrome, and that's a very uncommon condition. POIS. You can look it up, which is when a man he experiences debilitating symptoms following an orgasm. It can cause like anxiety or weakness or other things that escapes me. The etiology of it or why it happens, I don't think it's known. But I ran into a guy who did not like having sex, not because of his size, he said, but because of how he felt afterwards. So when he would have sex with women, he would try to hurry up and get it to be over with as soon as possible because of his post-orgasmic illness syndrome that he in your 3 second thing made me think of that story. So other than that, I don't even know why I just told y'all that. Fired as your partner, okay. Happy birthday, Harrison. I am so sorry that you have these frequent rain checks. Yes, I'm sorry you're having these frequent rain checks. Right, I look at was that it's been cheated. I think joining this Chesapeake is a setup. I've been talking about my whole relationship life. quick nuts. That is the worst. Breathing hard like something happened. What about me? I'm just saying. Wait. So, Nicole, are you saying that they're going at it and it lasts just a few seconds, whatever it is? And we can talk about averages, and averages really aren't what surprising how what the average empirical data shows, but then you hear all these men saying what they do and how long they last, but then it doesn't match. But anyway, you're saying that they're pumping all hard and even sweating. I'm just throwing that part out, like they did something, and you didn't even make it through a commercial. So you're trying to figure out what's happening, what caused this. Do you have asthma? I mean, what's really going on? That's funny. I would like to be there for something like that. Spontaneous is best. Okay, so that's one opinion. Spontaneous is best. It could be. I'd be ready to fight. Like, get out of my house. Don't call. Don't say hi when you see me in the street. I always say, don't ask me for something that you're not willing to do. I'm not sure what y'all addressing. Are y'all still on the size part? Yeah, y'all are. Size definitely matters, but his other skills might have me overlooked. Big maybe. No, it's the worst. So, the hell? How did we get to this? That's a nice nickname. He'll quick nuts. I'll write that. Where's my pen? Where's my pen? I want to write that down. Hillbilly, quick nuts. No, it's the worst. I think for a woman, you just have to know who you are. And for me, I can't see you enjoying another woman. So you're answering my latest question, which is if a, for those of you who haven't participated in one, or at least not with your current partner, if your partner came to you and asked you about it, would you participate in a threesome? I think for me, I would probably break out my list and flip through the pages of people and then and then get with the person and say, okay, yeah, we can. Who's picking? I think that's where I'm at. But that changes daily. So one day I'm thinking, oh no, I couldn't. More for her sake. But then I'm also thinking, no, I don't want to be involved in that type of stuff anymore. And that can change based on, I don't know, what's on TV. All right, so the next question is what's off limits? And I've asked this before. What's off limits in the bedroom? What's off limits in the bedroom for you? Nope, not sharing my husband. And Enigma, don't say anything. Threesome, three score sound chaotic. I think you mean threesome. Threesome sounds chaotic. Why? What's chaotic about it? TV made you want a threesome. That's a title. Yeah, that could be a title on a paternity court show or something like that. That'd be funny. I can definitely see a fight breaking out in the bedroom. That's not very nice. Why would you fight her? Lots of limbs. Oh, so it depends, right? If you're talking about limbs, meaning multiple guys. So I could never do a threesome with another guy. And I've said this more than a few occasions that I have a phobia of looking up and the guy's staring at me in my eyes. Like, I think that would cause some type of allergic reaction. I'm almost certain. But besides everything being over and stopping immediately, right? I think I think that would be a extreme problem if I look up and he's just staring at me in his eye with his eyes, and God forbid he does anything else like licks his lips or something. I don't know. It's something. So I couldn't do that. If that's what you mean about lots of limbs, I agree with you. But if you're meaning something else, then I need you to say so. so, Letitia, are you saying that are you saying that if he's doing or feeling or sounding a way that he doesn't feel, or doesn't sound with you, then that's a problem? Nicole, I'm not sure what you're asking. What are you talking about? How do you think we feel about what? Uh, what are you talking about? And there are lots of limbs, T. That's funny. I'm still not sure what you're talking about. I see messages still coming in, so maybe it's coming in. That's funny. Lots of limbs. Lots of limbs. All right, let's see. Man looking into your eyes during sex. I don't want a woman looking into my eyes, locking her lips. Okay, men wanting to chicks but don't want her to have lots of these. So I know guys who are okay with that. They don't care. I've used to be stationed with someone who he would he would be a part of. It's him and another guy. They would go around and participate in like threesomes and foursomes with couples, and the husband or the boyfriend was looking for guys to be with him and his wife. And I don't know if they were with him or not, but they definitely were with his wife. So some guys are okay with that. That's not my testimony. And I think for whatever reason, it's more accepted for woman on woman action, I think, or more tolerated, at least in the circles that I'm in, as opposed to men on men action. So a woman looking at another woman, looking at her lips, that will turn us men, some of us, on, as opposed to a guy looking at another guy licking his lips. That wouldn't. Lots of legs, arms, hands. Someone might accidentally get capping. So that wouldn't be an accident, T. That would be on purpose. And now you got all types of problems like murder investigations, some other stuff. I would have a threesome with a woman if my man has one with a guy with me. Good luck there, Nicole. Good luck. So we're still on the same question, I think. Yeah. So if for those of you who haven't, I don't know where we're at. I don't know if we're still on. For those of you who haven't participated in the threesome, would you, if your partner came to you and asked about it? I think we're still in that question. I think. Yeah. Stallings, you missed it, I think. I was asking, is it the size that matters more or how he captains the boat? And I did not want you, maybe you're supposed to miss it. We already know what happens to you when size comes into play. No, does the size matter is the question? No, that was earlier. And I don't know if your question are just coming in late, but no. So I asked that question. We already know what size does to you, Stalling. So we don't need you to respond to that. You need to take your pills or medication or something just to stay hydrated and all that stuff. And they're delayed, and some of it is I'm missing some of it because questions are coming fast, and I got to scroll up. Some people believe if you can't beat them, own or invite them. Some men would rather invite the man, their woman, once in the bedroom rather than lose her. Seems that the man that does this, okay, feels he maintains power and relevance to his woman this way. Never looked at it that way, but I see your point. For me, I think if you're just opening the door for problems, maybe if we was in another country or something like that, but definitely not here in the States. Okay, so so Tish, you're saying that the threesome would be fine if there was no chance that you would bump into that woman again. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Okay, size isn't always important though. Just got to know how to work what you got. Stalling, so you just stay out of this conversation, okay? Because we know what happens to you when size is a consideration. So we don't want you to comment. Or you can just, I don't know, maybe you just shouldn't eat like 30 minutes before. What is the whole swimming thing? You can't 30 minutes after or something. Maybe you shouldn't eat 30 minutes before. Maybe. I don't know. Just if size is an issue. Maybe ask to see a picture first, and then like when he's on the way over, you don't eat. But if it's a certain size, it's okay to eat. I don't know. All right, so why my things are still coming in. I don't know. The next question: what's off limits in the bedroom? What what's off limits in the bedroom? I know of too many women who have met one they were scared of. I don't know what that means though. I'm not sure what that means. You already met one. What you were scared of? Flexible sexuals. We don't want to talk about that. So maybe there's a 1-800 number you should have dialed. Stallings. All right, so anal play is off limits. All right, okay, all right, I see what you're saying. One large P, you said. I haven't met a woman who was scared of any, but I've known a woman who, or know of a woman who has some issues with one, where lack of medication, lack of stretching, it just caused caused a problem. So he warned you not to use that word. I've warned, don't use the word flexible and everything. So we don't want to We don't want to go down that road. For those who were in here, you know what I'm talking about. Let's leave that word out of it. So what's off limits? So we got anal sex. That is off limits. I like bondage somewhat. All right, so I'm not into bondage at all. I can't do it because I say crazy things, and the last thing I need is to be tied up somewhere. Because I can see myself just getting so angry, and then if she think I'm playing, like I'll start crying and I'll be so angry and fierce that now it goes from a sexual thing to there's no way I can let him go now. So I can't do that. And then I'm allergic to pain. So I can't do anything that resembles pain. But you can share what your bondage stories if you would like. Please do. You can definitely share that. But what's off limits in the bedroom? What's off limits in the bedroom? So if somebody agrees with me, I can't do it. I can't do it. What is off limits in the bedroom? I think for me, I've used that thing that ties your arms and feet together while you're on all four. I kind of like that. Is that considered bondage? Because I like that. The thing underneath the bed and your arms are spread and legs are spread. I like that. But is that, I wouldn't consider that bondage, but I like that. What's the name underneath? I like using handcuffs. I got to reevaluate some things. So, the word no is off limits for you. It's off limits to me too. When they say no, they say stop. No, we can't. If they say no, don't stop. I'm okay with that, but I hate probably too strong. I dislike when they say no, we can't do that. Maybe you're into light bondage. I don't know. I am gonna have to reevaluate some things. I'm thinking about all the things that I'm into, and I wouldn't call it bondage though, right? So I'm not into. I don't know. I got to reevaluate some things. Simple restraint. So yeah, it could be me. It's me. Now I'll do whatever to her that she wants me to. So whatever you ask for, you know, I've been with some strong women and they're hanging on a bar or whatever and dropping and telling y'all too much. But so whatever they want me to do, they want me to pee on them. I mean, whatever. It's hey, I'll do whatever you want me to do to you. But I'm not participating in a bondage standpoint of when I think bondage is traditional, where I'm tied up and I can't talk and I can't even see, and it's pain involved and whips and wax or midgets. Like I can't do certain things. But I am going to have to reevaluate some things because I like swings and I dated a girl who had a stripper pole in her house, one of the poles and everything. And that was amazingly amazing. And I don't know. So anything dealing with and stuff. I'm not doing anything that will compromise myself. You're not linking in or none of that. Maybe that's not bondage. I thought it was. I would say other women because I wouldn't enjoy seeing you enjoying someone else. Listen, you got to try it, okay? Go and shower. Ain't nobody else hitting my wife in the bedroom either. Bikes and midgets, yeah. So I don't know why I said that word. I was thinking of stuff I don't like, and I'm definitely afraid of midgets, and I don't know, they just kind of scare me. Nothing, they did wrong or anything like that. It's just I see one and I start sweating and hallucinating, whatever else. Guns should never be involved, right? Just want to see something. If you're just taking a poll, I'm probably going to say I'm down. Like it depends. Are you come breaking in the house as a robber and you're doing some type of role play? So in that case, absolutely, you need the gun, right? What's the whole point of me breaking in the house is to scare you into doing what I want you to do. So that question is really not off base like people think it is. I think it is a good question. So the answer is no, not right. It depends. It depends. And so it depends. So here's the thing. I was young. All right. You were young and you had a gun in the whole sex department situation? Because if so, I definitely want to know about that. I need to step my game up. What part's nasty? Sorry to leave. Wish I could finish this up, but the kids trying me like they don't have school in the AM. All right, so well, good, happy birthday again, I think, Harrison, to you. And we'll talk later. We'll talk to you later. All right, so the question we're on before I transition to another one is what's off limits in the bedroom? What is considered off limits to you in the bedroom? For me, it would be the bondage thing, I think. I don't know if I like bondage now because the more I talk it out and think of all the foolishness that I participated in the 80s, I probably like it, just not all of it. Off limits are midgets of any shade, but especially dark midgets with white teeth. What else is off limits? Pegging, somebody brought that up before. That's definitely off limits. Anything painful, because I'm allergic to pain. Let's see. I can't think of like anything where blood is a result of. Like if you want me to punch you as hard as I can, I'm probably not going to do that because you're not gonna trick me or set me up. So I'm probably not gonna do that. I don't mind choking, but I'm afraid, especially if an orgasm happened during, because I'll tense up and I'm likely to lock my fingers in. Next thing I know, I done broke your vocal cord or something like that. I can't do that. I mean, I'll do it, So I'm not against it, not like the whole midget thing, but it just depends. It just depends. I don't think anything else is off limits. I don't care where we're at, if it's moving or not. That doesn't matter to me. I really don't care who's around. If it's little kids, I won't do that. But if they're adults, they're not saying anything they haven't seen before. I can't think of anything's off limits. So what else is off limits? Oh yeah, that's a thing. Drum blood, sex. That's a thing. You said it's a joke, and she said, "Go ahead." All right, so I want to know what that is, right? So what's the whole gun thing? You said it's a joke. Well, I think that's what you're talking about. Let me go back on this. I put the gun in some unmentionable places. It says a joke. She said, "Go ahead." Yeah, leave her alone. You go in and showering someone. It's if they wanted it. Who am I to rob somebody of a good time? We talked. Somebody mentioned robbing of trust earlier. But who am I robbing a person of a good time? If they want me to do that, then do that. You were 15 when you do that, dude. You had some problems, but you've grown up since then. What else is off limits? I can't think of anything else that's off limits. I would literally do anything else that I haven't already mentioned as off limits. I think I would do, if you can think of it, then we can do it. Now we all can learn, right? That's part of the reason why we have these. We're learning. We're learning things. I don't know about the gun and putting that in unmentionable places. I'm not sure about that, but we all are learning, right? Except for the flexible sexuals, they probably have it all figured out. They probably have it all figured out. Yeah, they probably have it all figured out. And you can't compare to others and judge yourself by. Don't feel ashamed of your journey. No, you don't. Yeah, you shouldn't feel ashamed of your journey. We all have different backgrounds and different experiences in life. It's easy to compare because we make comparisons every day, all day long. That's just what we do as humans. We do that. And this is a subject where you can really get caught up into and look at yourself as like an amateur or not as experienced and everything. We like different things. We took different paths. We've seen, heard different things, and that's just what it is. So don't feel ashamed, not even envy, but you can definitely learn. You can definitely learn. So when you say I'm open to trying new things, well, if I recall, you were one who said no anal sex, so that means you're not open. You're figuratively and literally closed to trying different things. So something to think about. It's something to think about. Something to think about. All right, so I'm gonna move. I'm gonna move to the next question, and this one I've asked before. I only have a few more, and then if y'all want to talk about anything, any question for this final part to this 3-part series. All right, so what is, and I've asked this before, and each one I'm asking again now. What is your favorite sexual position? Yeah, so she could still be open for other things, right? But she can't use the word open, but then say she's closing. She's closed in an area. But I'm open to trying different things. Because everything, like I brought up 2 things, she's close to it. the threesome, and anal sex. So what else is she open for? Those are big things. I don't think she gave us any information on what she's open to. Hmm. I tried it. I just didn't care for it. That's like trying a different food, right? You didn't try. You tried a certain food, you didn't care for it, but then somebody else made it and you really loved it, so now you eat it. Maybe it's something like that. So you tried it with the person, it didn't go right the first time. You got to try again. Use a different lubrication or approach it with a different mindset. Yes, please let us know what you're open to, because she hasn't said that. She's been vague. I'm open to different things, but the only thing we know is what she's close to, literally. The next question is, what is your favorite sexual position? What is your favorite sexual position? And y'all know mine. My ultimate favorite sexual position is just inside of a woman, right? So that's number one. But if I had to break it down even further, I like the launch pad position. Not most frequent or what I do most often. Then I like the Vietnamese oyster position. That's another favorite of mine. From a sex standpoint, the intercourse part. I also, from a foreplay standpoint, I like when the woman, I'm sitting like this or back up against the wall or headboard or refrigerator, whatever the case. And so she's facing away from me and her butt's in my face and then she bends over. So she has to be extremely flexible. That allows for good and great times if she's flexible, if she can bend over like that. I'm not totally closed off to anal sex. It's just that it hasn't been brought up again. And I'm not thinking about it because it's not necessarily my thing. Okay. All right. So, what is your favorite sexual position? And then I got just one more question, unless you all want to talk about some things. No. So, right? Am I the only one that's this whole midget thing? Am I the only one that's impacted by it or scares easily? I was walking in a store. I don't know. It was a grocery store, and I saw this taller guy. I don't know, maybe anywhere between 5'10" to 6 foot, and he was what a midget. She was pushing a stroller. I don't know what took place. I mean, it sounded like a good time. You can throw them up and spin them and catch them and everything, but it's I don't know. I don't. I'm not sure. Okay, I'm not. I'm not sure. So is it just me? Oh, he said he loves them. He said, I don't know. I don't know. So No, you don't low key want that to happen because a few other things are going to happen if that were to happen. If she says yes, all right, yeah, and then she brings home one of those. I didn't mean to say one of those. I'm sorry, I should have said that. She brings home a little person, one midget, or whatever it is. A few things are going to happen. One, so I'm probably going to tie them both up, right? I'm probably going to, after I get past the initial shock, disappointment, frustration, anger, after I get over all of that, I'm probably going to tie them both up, right? And and then I'm just going to go and look for some fire ants and throw that all on both of them, and then just when that's getting good, I'll probably throw some alcohol on them. That's only after I skin them, right, with a potato peeler. So if I don't go that route, then I'm gonna go that route. So no, that can't happen. No. So yeah, you definitely don't want something like that to happen. Yeah, you don't want something like that to happen because it's like if you think of a phobia, snakes or spiders. By the way, don't ever wait on me to save you from any type of bug anywhere ever. I'll step on babies to get away from bugs. So, but it's just think of a phobia you have, and they present that. Like I know people are afraid of clowns, or spiders, or dogs, or whatever the case. But think of that phobia, and somebody presents that to you. So besides being afraid, now you're angry that they did it. You're not going to start laughing, right? It's not one of those situations where you're going to take too kindly. So if my woman say she agreed to a threesome and bring in a midget, again, I get you can have so much fun with them. You can throw them around, you can throw them up in the air, you can catch them and bounce them off. You can do a lot of stuff, right? But that's not me. That's not me. So if my woman were to surprise me or being funny, I'm probably going to punch her as hard as I possibly could. First and foremost, as hard as I possibly could. That's before the fire ants and the alcohol after I skin her with a potato peeler. And so I put her in the sheet, tie her up so she can't move. I'm peeling her, put the fire ants first, peel her, throw the alcohol on her and everything. And I'm probably going to go get two girls and bring them in and then have the threesome that I really should have had. I'm going to have that. Like, all right, you want to be funny? All right. I got something that'll make you laugh. So, no, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. No, what's wrong with you? No, I'm not the one with the problem. If she would have bring the midget in, that would be the problem. So how do we get to this? I'd ask what's off limits in the bedroom. I think. No. I was talking about your favorite sexual position. How do we get to this? No, I can't. I can't. I just can't do it. I don't, and I don't know where this comes from. I didn't have any bad experiences with them. I don't think there's anything wrong with them or anything like that. It's just that's just what it is. I don't know. I don't know, but that's the last thing that my partner needs to do is agree to a threesome, but then bring a midget to the room. Probably going to be that's the last prank she would ever play, if she gets to play at all anymore. But that's the last time she's ever going to think something like that. Okay, tabletop missionary. I don't like the missionary style. I don't like that. You retracted it, but it showed up. I don't like missionary. I don't like that. What are some of y'all favorite positions? What are some of y'all favorite positions? I don't think I have any other ones. Just inside of a woman really is my favorite position. So what are some of y'all's? No. So that would be a nightmare for me. That's the type of thing you wake up screaming and hollering and kicking and punching and stuff like that. Well. You can look those up, right? So I'll type mine, so you can look those up. They are, in my opinion, incredible. And so they are incredible. I'm glad you do know what the missionary position is. That's good. But see, how do you do missionary with a midget, right? I'm just, you can't deal with so much with it. Like you can make it a slingshot. You can do all types of things with little people and midgets. So yeah, you can do a lot. I imagine you can do a lot with the little person or a midget, maybe. But that's just not my style. Not my style whatsoever. Okay. I do appreciate your looking out, good looking out, and giving me feedback, but it truly isn't necessary or welcomed. So you don't have to give me a summary of what you get with a midget. I may look at you differently, uh, but I I promise I won't judge outside of looking at you differently. So, what are your favorite sexual position? Would you really give one? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know again where this emanates from, why I have these feelings, but whatever. What about, so? All right, this is more for, I guess, the ladies. Is would you prefer long a long and slow session, or hard, fast, and quicker session? I guess it could be for both. If you just had to pick one, not, hey, sometimes one's better than the other, but you had to pick one. I'm actually going to do that, not just as a guest. I'm starting a podcast, and more to follow on that. It's going to be a live video podcast where people can call in and everything. We're starting a podcast. Hopefully in the June timeframe, it may be pushed back to July. So more to come on that. It's going to be the Dr. Owen Bro Show. So pay attention, look out for that. Actually, this is an excellent idea. We should do a podcast together. Right? It is an excellent idea. Uh, Too bad we hadn't thought of it. So we actually are doing a podcast. Dr. Owen Bro Show is what they're going to be called, I think. But I think it's going to be wonderful. We are going to discriminate, so no midgets. No midgets. How did I get on this subject? of little people or midgets? Because I'm not sure. Anyway, what is what's something that you fantasize about but never tried? Something you've fantasized about but never tried. Why are you danging me? What's dang? Why you say dang? No, man, I'm not bringing. So here's the thing about little people and midgets, especially if they're dark or white teeth. Because let's say the lights go out and then they open their mouth and they smile and they got white teeth. I think I'd lose my mind. So that's the darker white teeth piece of it. But just in general, I was in a bank once and I was about to walk out to my car and there was a midget talk to a guy, or female midget talking to a guy right beside my car. So I walked back in the bank and I stayed there until they left. And I just and my Tesla is not the one where you can summons it. So I couldn't summons the car to come up and pull up and pick me up, so to speak. And I don't know, I just have a problem. How I don't know. No, so I don't know what those are. I read them, but I don't know what they are. I can imagine what tabletop is, and I know what missionary is. I thought those are words you just made up. So what are they? No, okay. So you can fantasize about that. Have never tried, and that's good. I'm glad you fantasize about that. Who fantasizes about that? And then why? Why is that a fantasy of yours? I think mine is more probably in the airplane bathroom, but I've only been in bathrooms big enough when I was traveling abroad, traveling overseas, where the bathrooms are about 3 times the size of the regular bathroom. But for the most part, it's been in those small bathrooms, and the you know how our women are generally thicker. There's no way we're getting 2 of us in there. So that's been a fantasy of mine that I've never tried, not for fear of or frick or not sure what to expect or if I would like it, but just more of an opportunity. Henry Griffin said they are already D-high, so they just stand on your feet and get head while you walk around the room doing everything. Is that like a midget would be perfect for a small bathroom? But because it's small, what if you come to your senses during the act and it's a small place, you can't run out fast enough, right? So it's a small bathroom. Yeah, so it would be perfect. And you can pick them up by their hands or whatever. But what if at any moment something comes over and you're like, what am I doing? Or you start freaking out because the bathroom's small, you can't get away. You did it before. It's been laying flat on the bed and you're on top. Okay. A midget would be perfect for. What are some of your other fantasies that you've tried? Wait, that you wanted to try, but or something that you fantasize about but never tried? What what are some? Images. All right, sure. It could be, which it could be perfect for a small bedroom, a smart bathroom. I've heard of that. Okay, I've heard of that position. Oh, I didn't know there was a name for that position. I like that. Okay. How are we still on positions? I don't think I have any other things that I fantasize about that I haven't tried. Besides the plain bathroom situation. Nope, I don't think so. I don't think so. I do not think so. And probably my final question is, what turns you on the most during sex? I got one more after that. I'm sorry. What turns you on the most? What turns you on the most? I don't know. I don't know for me. Probably just nakedness, but I don't know. But it got to be built a certain way. It can't just be extremely sloppy and all of that. It just because you're naked, I'm turned on. That's not how that works. Not how that works. Anything? No, I can't. No, won't do it. Having sex in a private jet. Okay. Okay. Great question about slow or hard. Sometimes both depends on time and place. Oh, yeah, that came in really, really slow. Question I asked was, would you rather have it slow and yeah, slow, or would you rather have it quick and hard and fast, or slow and longer? That was the question. Wow, that came in extremely late. Don't know why. Don't know why. Private jet. Okay. Okay. It depends. All right. But if you had to pick one, right? So I know it can. Many things in life can be. It depends situation. Many answers could be, especially in psychology, especially in my field. My answer to a lot of things is in psychology is it depends. But what if it couldn't? What if you had to pick one? That's what I wanted to know. That midget would be perfect for a small bath. No, man, that's crazy. I would say kissing are more of a lovemaking type. Okay. So are you saying slow and longer session? And then probably my final question is, it was up to you. how many times a week would you have sex? It was up to you. How many times a week? Regardless of who or with whom, if it was new or old or someone different each time or whatever the case, how many times a week would you have sex? Yeah, so that's going to be my last question. It's up to you how long or how often would you have sex? Okay. For me, I don't know. Maybe maybe 3 to 4. I think 3 to 4 would be it for me. Yeah, maybe between 3 and 4. Now, if it happens more, that's okay. And then some of it's contingent on what where I'm at, like what I have going on at the time, where I'm living, or where I'm currently vacation or what have you, where I'm currently laying my head that night. So if it's and I don't count multiple times on the same day in that figure. So if I say 3 to 4, talking about 3 to 4 days, even if it's 3 to 4 times each day. So I'm talking the number of days. For me, I think 3 to 4, but if I'm around water and I'm able to scuba dive, I think I would do it. It's okay if it would be less. I think for me, especially now, if I'm around water and I can scuba dive, it would most definitely would be likely be less. Yeah, it will most likely be less. So, so your comment about the plane, sex on the plane, and saying it's great, the bathroom is a tight space. Are you saying the bathroom on a jet is a tight space? Because if it is, then it's no different than, or it wouldn't be too much of a difference circumference wise or space wise than a regular commercial plane, commercial jet. Then if that's the case, for me, it still goes back to the whole you it will be difficult to maneuver in there if it's tight. It's already closed and it's tight, and you're trying to put a second person in there. And then if we like our woman thicker, then it's even less space. So can you even close the door? And you said breakfast, lunch, and dinner as many times as my schedule allowed it. Okay. Okay. Or should, okay. As often as possible, but at least we're in the same place. Okay. So for me, it's 3 to 4 times. I think sex 3 to 4 times a week, days, I should say. Again, not not counting multiple times in a day in that number. It would just be 3 to 4 different days. And am I the only one who, and probably so, but am I the only one who the hobbies that I'm able to participate in dictating or influencing that number? A few minutes ago, for those of you just listening or had to step away and came back, if I'm able to scuba dive, because I'm an avid scuba diver, if I'm able to do that, and then They can be tiresome. They can tire you out, especially if you're doing more than one dive, multiple dives a day. They can really tire you out, and it has influence or impact my desire to want to do anything else, especially my fantasy, which is bathroom on a plane. And if I'm scuba diving, I'm not going to be traveling soon thereafter. All right. So, anything else y'all want to talk about? Because I think YouTube is had enough because the questions are coming in a little slower than before. Anything else y'all would like to talk about? And I don't know why they're coming in. The comments are coming in slow. Yeah, I do. I do scuba dive, and I do want to get. I want to. That's what I haven't done, which is nighttime diving. I do want to get the certification on that, and I got my scuba certification in Japan. Right? Yeah, in Japan. So that's why I. It's not the first place I did a little scuba. You know, you get on a cruise and they take you out and they do a quick 15-minute teaching you, and then they take you down for about, I don't know, 15 minutes or so. That was on a cruise, I think somewhere in Mexico. I did once, but I got my certification in Japan and in Okinawa. Oh, yeah, Okinawa. So nighttime diving, that's what I want to do. I want to be able to go nighttime diving. And then before COVID hit, there was a trip I was thinking about going on. It was a 7-day. Some people at work. It was a 7-day trip, and I forgot where, but it was 24/7 diving there. You go to pretty much it. It really wasn't much around the hotel. You had to go a couple of miles out just to get anything to eat or whatever. But the resort, it was boats coming and going all the time, and you can go able to dive 24/7 if your gear allowed you to and your body held up. So yeah, I miss it. I miss living there and wait, what dive site in Maryland? How's because the water isn't clear there, is it? Because right, you're in the Atlantic and up that way. I have to dive in clear water. Where's the site? Is it a man-made site, or I wouldn't imagine that you'd be able to dive up that way. I've dove in Asia and Hawaii, Mexico. I don't think I've dove anywhere else. I don't think I've dove anywhere else. I don't. I'm gonna have to look that up. They dropped a ship there to die for. So what they dropped a ship there. What's the water like? Is it still in the same Atlantic Ocean up north in near Maryland? Slow and longer to ensure I get mine too. All right, Weaver, I hear you. Said the same, but okay, I hear you. Why are these comments coming in extremely slow? At least 5 times a week. I knew you were that way. I had a feeling you were that way, Weaver. I don't know why I thought that. I don't know why I thought that. Yeah, let me know about that site, that dive site. Uh, Let me know. It's been over a year, I think, since I've dove. Hmm. No, probably even longer. Probably about 18 months. And again, I was supposed to. I was leaning toward going last year on that trip, but then COVID happened. Coach Scott, I was actually, I think I was going to be offered a job out there 2 weeks ago, and they sent me an invite via email, and they said, "Hey, we have these 10 days open, and these pretty much any time during the day." And I told them, "Well, no, I can't. I just accepted a different job. Wouldn't want to do that." And then that very next day, that same job that they wanted to interview me for, they put that back out there the very next day. So I think they mean they was going to interview me and then select me. So, and I've been to Yokosuka. I've been there. How was that Maya diving trip? How do we get on this from talking about sex and talking about favorite positions and uh, what's sexual fantasy you have but never tried? How to? Oh, I was talking about being able to do a hobby and how if I'm near water, if I could scuba dive, that would impact how much sex I would want to have during the week. I think that's the how we tied it in. Those of you who haven't already, hit that subscription button and notification bell. But we are talking about sex and relationships from a man and woman's perspective, and it's the last part of a three-part mini series on this topic. And we've had some interesting conversations uh, around this topic. Learned a lot, and I've said a lot more than I probably should have. You said what trip? It was a trip. It was a trip. Some people at work, and my in a position that I was in, I did a lot of teaching and training, and you get to meet people. You're walking around, going to their office or their desk or their office, and then you start to see, look at their pictures or their screensavers or background and all that, and you start asking questions, and you're just learning things about people, and then you got things in common. And one person told me about some stuff, and then that was that. But yeah, so we were talking about sex and relationships. I asked quite a few questions in this particular one. I'm getting ready to close thing, conclude this. But as we as we conclude, wanted to know if there's anything else y'all want to talk about in relation to this subject, sex and relationships. Anything that we've already talked about, or we haven't. You want to elaborate on or spend more time on anything whatsoever. Anything whatsoever. I don't see anything coming in at the moment. So I am going to. I don't see anything coming in at the moment. YouTube does have some latency issues. Do you find distance causes sexual issues? Do I find distance causes sexual issues? I think that's subjective to each relationship, right? So I know people who can deal with that. I knew a married military couple. I don't know if they were still together or how long they stayed together. I heard they weren't. They weren't. or they split up. But a military married couple, they were stationed at different bases in different states, and they were doing that for years. So I think that's subjective. For me, no. For me, I guess it depends. It can be, but as long as it's somewhat frequent, I think I'd be okay. I think I'd be okay. I'm gonna go ahead and close, and I'll read anything else that comes in, or if it does come in. So we talked about a lot on this mini series. We talked about a lot. Talked about sex and how men and women we both enjoy sex. We both like sex, especially good sex. We talked about that. We talked about just the differences and how we view it. Men, it's more physical. Women, it's more emotional, connection and everything. So we talked about that, and how men, for example, can be acyclical, which is anytime, anywhere, and women are more cyclical, where it's not as important and they're not as interested as men are at times. We talked about just how a man can view it as just sex, and a woman will, in comparison to men, will want more than just sex. We talked about how a man's needs can be different than a woman's needs, whereas we, as a man, we may not be satisfied unless we have an orgasm, which is the mental part of sex, where it's not the ejaculation part, and people think it's the same, but it's not. It happens simultaneously. Whereas a woman may or may not be satisfied if they don't have an orgasm. So we talked about that. We looked at it from and then we transitioned to some questions and answers, different questions that we asked, such as many of what we discussed here already. But we talked about like 3 words to describe your favorite type of sex. We talked about that, your embarrassing moments, some of your embarrassing moments, and we've had quite a few livid ones. So we talked about that. We talked about what's limits, what's the turn on, and talked about being vulnerable and open, and not feeling pressure to act on a fantasy that you may have. We talked about favorite sexual positions, and have you ever been caught? I think having sex was one of the things we discussed, and we had some interesting responses to that. And then this particular time, for those of you who missed it, we focused more on the relational standpoint, or the relationship standpoint. And again, I'm talking about dyadic relationships. We're talking about intimacy. We focused on intimacy and the importance of intimacy in relationships, and what's even intimacy? What do we consider intimacy? So we talked about that. We talked about difficulties in creating and sustaining longevity in intimacies, and what it means in a relationship, how conflict can play a part, how communication is important, some issues that can cause problems from an intimacy standpoint. And again, then we transition to just a question and answer session, such as ask questions, and we discuss things such as, can sex realistically thrive in a relationship if we have to schedule it, and how important is sex to you in a relationship? So we were all over the place with these 3. We came in many different angles with this in this three-part uh, series. I do I do think we need to, just as a people, we need to remember from an intimacy standpoint, it can take time to build and it can be difficult to maintain, but one must communicate and communicate effectively and with candor their wants and their needs, because if not, then it's going to be hard for them to be met and for you to meet them, or for your partner to meet them. I think communication between the two people are extremely critical in any relationship. And they don't have to be your best friend, but friend enough for you to trust in them enough to talk about what it is you need from an intimate standpoint and from a sexual standpoint. As a couple or as a person in a relationship, the focus should not be just on you. It shouldn't just be on you and what you want, either from a sex standpoint or a physical desirability standpoint or an emotional standpoint. It can't just be about you. It has to be about the other person as well. What's the key word in relationship? Relation. And y'all have to be on the same accord, or yoke, as someone said. You have to be on one accord. You have to be on that same ship. Got the ship driving, and it can't be two ships driving. So it's the relationship, one thing you have to be on one accord. So I will say that each relationship is different. Sex in a relationship is different, and what works for one person or couple may not be the same as what's worked for another person or relationship. As we've seen on here, we've had a variety of responses to how people manage their relationships and things that take place, what they do, what they like, or what they feel. And so there's no right, I say all I have to say, there's no right or wrong way for a relationship. It's what works for you and what works for your partner. So whatever it is you do, as long as you like what you do, continue to do what you like and continue to experiment, to enjoy, to partake in those things from a sexual standpoint that brings you joy and brings you pleasure. So with that said, I do thank y'all for participating, for watching this three-part mini series and spending the day, part of your day with me. And until next time, this is Dr. O, and you've been watching In the Know with Dr. O. So this is Dr. O signing off.